Today, we're going to barely cover UFC Vegas 88 because it was that uneventful. Also, we're going to cover UFC Vegas 89 because it should be slightly more eventful. Both of these events, we're just going to cover them and see what goes on. Actually, more than likely, I'm just going to roast a lot of things that happened at UFC Vegas 88. Either way, come along on this journey. On today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. Right back with you. It's your boy Matt. We get ready to break down UFC Vegas 88. But here's the thing. As I said at the top of the show, look, we're not going to do a ton of breaking down for UFC Vegas 88. And I might roast a few people. Because, bruh, it wasn't all that. It wasn't all that. You know what I'm saying? But we are going to get into a little bit of UFC Vegas 89. I'm not going to cover all the fights. Just a couple of fights because, realistically, man, what is up with these Apex cards? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they've been bad. They've been bad for a while, but now it's just like the UFC just treating us like a redhead stepchild. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to red-haired stepchildren out there, but that's how they treating us. So, at the top, let's start out with UFC Vegas 88, where in the main event, Marcin Tybura goes out there and defeats Tai Tuivasa. Bro, here's the thing. I mean, what are you going to say about this main event, other than there were some interesting hairstyles in it? Tai Tuivasa had like a top ponytail of some sort with a little hair hanging down at the back. Tai Tuivasa had half his head shaved, half of it had hair. I don't know what happened with that, but bro, it was just an uneventful main event, and Marcin Tybura goes out there and submits Tai Tuivasa. I mean, instantly, bro, when the fight started, when Tai Tuivasa didn't have any answer for the grappling of Tybura, it's just, what are we doing here? It was just a matter of time before Tai was going to tap. You know what I'm saying? It was just a matter of time. He was just on the ground. He had no answers. The commentators are trying to walk you through what's going on. Tai Tuivasa's rolling over on his stomach the wrong direction and everything. It was just all the way bad. So with that being said, bro, that's it for Tai Tuivasa. That's 4 losses in a row. He's not going to get fired by the UFC or let go. But I mean, bro, at this point, lock him in the cage with Despain and let Despain go ahead and take him out and get that notch on his resume. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, Tai Tuivasa goes out there extremely uneventful, taps, takes an L to Marcin Tybura. Let's move over to the co-main event. Brian Battle goes out there and faces Ange Loosa. So here's the thing. Brian Battle is looking like a world beater, okay? Brian Battle is doing his thing. I'm talking about the strikes look crisp. He's keeping him at range, keeping the man at distance because, of course, he's the longer fighter. Ange has no answer for anything Brian Battle is doing. He keeps catching him in the midsection with teep kicks. He's using his foot basically as a jab. Every time Ange would try to close in, to try to go into the pocket, boom, Brian Battle's catching with a teep right to the stomach. I mean, the man is doing work. You know what I'm saying? Then the next thing you know, there ends up being an accidental eye poke by Brian Battle in which Ange Loose goes to the side, and homie, in my opinion, his body language, the way he was acting, he looked like completely like he didn't want anything, he didn't want any more of this fight. He didn't want no more Brian Battle. He didn't want to be in the octagon anymore. He looked like he was done, and it pretty much looked like this eye poke was going to give him the chance to get out of it. Now, here's what I'm saying. Most of the time with a lot of fighters where the fight is stopped due to eye poke, there's a couple of key things that you notice. Fighters that don't want to be out of there, that want to keep the fight going just as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't think of a good word there. bro, they literally will never say anything about not being able to see. They will wipe their eye. They'll kind of move it around in different things. They will never bring up that they can't see. They don't even want the doctor to come in there. And if the doctor comes in there, they try to rush the doctor to get back into the action. They never once verbalize that they can't see or even act like it. Now, my other point to where Anj might have been playing it up a little bit is the fact that most of the time with those guys, the fight ends up being stopped because the eye begins to spasm and it closes up on its own and they can't get the eyelid open, right? Within the allotted 5-minute time. And they're allowed to put cold press on and everything, but if they can't get it open, they just can't get it open. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, that's usually why the fight stops. A lot of those guys want to continue. They want to keep it going, but you can't lie to the doctor and say, "Oh, I can still see out of this eye," and your eyes just closed up, like the whole thing. I mean, the whole thing is closed. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. So what I'm looking at with Lusa is, homie his eye is wide open. He keeps wiping it and things, but he's clearly says to the doctor that he can't see out of it. You know what I'm saying? And he never goes against that. He didn't want to try to take the full 5 minutes. He didn't ask for more time. He just was saying he can't see out of it. Then when they stopped the fight, all of a sudden now he's like, "Oh no, oh." You know what I'm saying? That's about as goofy as he looked. You know what I'm saying? When they called off the fight. So then, the best part, and this is where I shout out to Brian Battle for saving this moment. So Brian Battle basically is like, what is going on? Walks in the middle of the cage, has a few choice words for Anj. All of a sudden now Anj has got the fury of Zeus inside of him, you know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden he's ready to go to battle. He's the god of war out of nowhere, and he's ready to do battle. He's wanting to fight. They're trying to hold him back. He keeps yelling at Brian Battle he'll kill him. And it's like, bro, keep that same energy, bro. Where was that energy 2 minutes before when you was telling the doctor that you couldn't see out of your eye, which is what stopped the fight, homie? Like, where was that type of energy at? And his eye is still wide open. It's not spasming or anything. And granted, I know he still might not be able to see out of the eye, but the eye didn't really seem to be bothering homie when he was yelling out, "I'll kill you," and was trying to shove his way through security to get to Brian Battle. So now let's move over to why Brian Battle saved all of this. Brian Battle is going to make more headlines and be featured more places based out of his post-fight speech than he would have probably if he would have won. Because the man, again, I'm not saying Anj couldn't have, he should have continued. I'm not saying that. Maybe the dude's eye was really messed up. I'm not saying that. But Brian Battle, bro, shout out to him because he cuts the promo of all promos on Anj, called him every four-letter word, 5-letter word, every letter word you can think of. You know what I'm saying? Cursed him out. Then, on top of that, the man interviewing him is Michael Bisping. He don't pull no punches. After Brian Battle goes in on the man, talking about he could have continued, talking about he was winning the fight, and homie was looking for a way out, said he'll run it back at any time. They can run it back out in the streets if they want. After all of that, I called him Brian Bisping. Michael Bisping, who is known to say a few choice things on mic when he doesn't know he's mic'd up, or on camera when he doesn't know the camera's on. As the camera he's thinking is off, he's basically co-signing everything Brian Battle said, that Anj looked like he was looking for a way out. Then Michael Bisping notices the camera's right there, and he's kind of like, "Oh, hey, buddy." You know what I'm saying? It kind of tries to put his hand over the camera. Classic. Shout out to Brian Battle, because this is what I'm talking about, man. So many fighters that don't understand that you need to have some sort of a mouthpiece. You don't have to be Conor. You don't have to be the greatest talker in the world, but just say something. Brian Battle saved this fight. It was ruled as a no contest. Both men are only going to get half their paycheck, but He saved this. He made headlines. He's probably going to be on the MMA Hour this week, based out of what he said. You know what I'm saying? Granted, he was looking like a world beater, and if the fight went on, he probably was definitely cruising toward a win, because it didn't look like Anj had anything for him. It looked like he didn't know what to do against this new and improved Brian Battle, who looked big as a house in there. Way bigger than the last time we saw him at welterweight. So, man, shout out to him. He's going to make all the headlines. He's probably going to be talked about by Chael, DC, RC, Ariel, everybody else that you can pull up, pull out. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to him, man. He saved that moment. He made the headlines. And now, no doubt, the UFC is probably going to run this fight back because there's clearly bad blood. And you know both men are going to talk it up, and we're going to see what happens. So shout out to him. That was probably the most eventful thing coming off of this card. I'm just going to quickly breeze through a few other things because I spent so long on that, but trust me, it was the most eventful thing that happened. How about OSP as he turns back the hands of time and he goes out there and defeats Kennedy in Zekruku? Bro, shout out to OSP, the old dog, still in the yard, still doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? This man's been fighting since Strikeforce, bro. You're not gonna, it's going to be hard to find a lot of guys that's been around that long. And homie's still calm, collected, walking out there, still doing his thing, man. Busted up numerous people's parlays. I'm sure he got a few death threats in his DMs because no one expected this man to go out there and get the win. With all of that being said, I'm just going to say, bro, Kennedy, he's got a few skills, bro, but he just ain't got the heart for it, bro. You can just tell he's just a mild-mannered, nice guy, bro. He just ain't got it, man. He just ain't got that. The dog is nowhere present. The dog is off the leash, left the yard, and left the state, went 12 towns over. You know what I'm saying? He just don't have it, man. He's a fairly skillful fighter, but you can just tell, bro, he just don't have that dog at all. He's just a little bit too nice, a little bit too soft. You know what I'm saying? Now, by no means am I saying I could beat the man. He beat me 12 times on Sunday, so I'm not saying that. But, bro, he just ain't got it. And when you out here losing to OSP, when he had plenty of opportunities to get OSP out of there, at least in the last round, bro. So I don't know what the UFC's going to do with him other than put him in there against another fighter that they want to prop up in that weight division and watch Kennedy take another L. But shout out to OSP. He goes out there and gets a win at 40. He's a grown man. He's 40. He's doing his thing, and he's moving forward. Next, we got Christian Rodriguez, who goes out there and gets a win against Isaac Delgarian. Bro, shout out to Christian Rodriguez. He was my pick to win the fight. The thing about Christian Rodriguez is this homie's style is essentially, bro, he's just going to continue to outlast his opponents until they lock him in there with somebody who has the type of stamina that he has. I mean, that's just what it is, man. The homie, he can take a shot. He's got a tremendous chin. He's hard to submit. You know what I'm saying? He's good at scrambles. And that's just what he's going to continue to do is outlast his opponents and move forward. So shout out to Christian Rodriguez. He gets a win. I mean, Isaac was looking like a world beater round 1 and round 2. His wrestling was on point. And then just like Dominic Cruz kept saying the whole fight, telling us what to be on the lookout for, it happened in the 3rd round. And Isaac gassed out and Christian Rodriguez took advantage. One could argue that, I mean, he needed a finish to win the fight. So that was kind of cooking on the judges' scorecards because it should have been Isaac up 2 rounds, first 2 rounds, and Christian should have needed a finish to win the fight, but they want to give him the win, give him the win. This wasn't a huge fight that I was really worried about. Shout out to Christian Rodriguez. He goes out there and he gets the win. Outside of that, man, Macy Chiasson, she goes out there, she gets a big win. That was pretty cool. GM3, he goes out there, he dispenses a Brian Barberina. Shout out to him. But one of my favorite performances on the show was Mike Davis. Reason why Mike Davis didn't go out there and get the tremendous knockout like we thought he would. He didn't go out there and style on Natan Levy on the feet. What I like about Mike Davis is Mike Davis is so good that he went into a portion of his game that most people thought he was weak in, being the wrestling and submissions, and that was all he did in the fight, and ends up getting Natan Levy out of there. So shout out to Mike Davis. You gotta love a fighter who could easily have went in there and knocked out Levy and got the fight over with, but he literally leaned into what people feel like, at least, that he's weak at, and that's what he shined in. Shout out to Mike Davis. Outside of that, man, let's just move on from this card. Chelsea Handler, who ran from Nunes a couple times in this fight, looked completely out of shape. Looked like she rolled off the couch after finishing a can of Betty Crocker cake icing. You know what I'm talking about? And just with her fingers. Looked like she was just on that Betty Crocker. You know what I'm talking about? But with all of the jiggle and flab she had, she went out there, she gets the win. So shout out to her. But, bro, let's just move on from that card. Let's move on to UFC Vegas 89. We're not going to cover all of this, but let's start out with the main event as Amanda Ribas steps in there with legend, Thug Rose, Rose Namajunas in the main event. So in this one, man, I got Rose all day, provided that I would feel more comfortable if Rose had Trevor Whitman back in her corner. I don't know if she's going to have, Pat Barry in her corner for this fight or not. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. Basically what I'm saying is I'm not sure her head coach is. I would feel more comfortable about her taking this fight if she had Trevor Whitman. But overall, bro, I got Rose Namajunas. I got her to go out there and get the win. Amanda Ribas is a tough fighter. Amanda Ribas definitely got that dog in her, but Amanda Ribas' chin is extremely questionable, and her striking is just played, bro. Like, her striking is just like, I don't know. It's just not good striking. You know what I'm saying? And she's dog tough, but her chin is questionable, and its striking is just not on point. And I hate how she does that little matador thing where she throws like a 1-2 that look terrible, and then when her opponent returns and misses by a mile, Ribas wants to do that. Like she really did something, like she really evaded like a close strike and use some real head movement. Because Lord knows Ribas don't have no head movement. So it's like her opponent will throw like a test jab or a test like teep kick just to gauge distance and range, but they're not expecting it to hit. And Ribas is like she really did. Like she really did something. It was like, Ribas, like, girl, it was nowhere close. Like, it was going to miss you regardless. You ain't got to do the matador thing, you know what I'm saying? Nevertheless, man, I got Rose Namajunas to go out there and get the win. Unless Rose has another weird freak injury, like her finger gets bent back crooked, again, dislocated like it was in her last fight against Manfaro. Bro, I got Rose Namajunas, Thug Rose, to go out there, get back in the win column in the main event. And this next fight, this says it all. I wouldn't even cover this fight for real, but it is the co-main event, but this says it all. The co-main event of this Vegas card, of this Apex card, I gotta look at my notes. Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa. I mean, Dana, what are we doing, bro? Mick Maynard, what are we doing? Sean Shelby, what are we doing? Ari Emanuel, what are we doing? TKO, what are we doing? Do we have to have The Rock come over and start doing some matchmaking? Like, what are we doing, bro? Carl Williams is in a co-main event. The only storyline in this fight is that Justin Tafa swapped his younger brother, who took the fight like a month ago, for him. And it's like, bro, whatever. Shout out to the Tafa brothers. I'm really huge fans of them, but I just feel like Carl Williams is one of those guys one of those heavyweights that he just has the edge in the wrestling department, and he's just going to keep going out there. He's got a strong enough chin. He's tough enough to go out there and take the shots of a lot of these heavyweights on the lower level, not the upper level. Like, he ain't taking no shots from Tommy Aspinall or nobody like that, but he can take the punishment from the lower level heavyweights, and he's a good enough wrestler. He can just wrestle them to the ground, hold them down, and do that for 3 rounds straight. He generally has enough stamina to last all 3 rounds. So in that, I got Carl Williams to go out there and get a win, even though I'm a huge fan of the Taffa brothers. Don't really know why. I just like them. But shout out to Carl. I think he's going to go out there and get the win. This is not a shout out as a co-main event. Horrible co-main event. Horrible. Horrible, I would say again. Let's move on to another fight on the card that's actually going to be action-packed, I believe, unless somebody gets knocked out quickly in the first round. Fresh off the Contender Series, we got Peyton Talbot stepping in there with Cameron Simon. Bro, this right here should be an extremely good striking fight. Extremely good. However, Cameron Simon is extremely good on the ground, really sneaky submissions, really good with ninja chokes and things like that. But bro, this is going to be an outstanding fight in my opinion. I really like the way that Peyton Talbot strikes. His striking is amazing. He's an extremely confident young fighter. You know, you can tell he really is feeling himself and feeling his skills. However, I believe in the long run, he's going to be a really good fighter, possibly even a contender one day. But I'm going to have to go along with Cameron Simon. Cameron Simon definitely he's got the experience. He's been in there with better fighters, of course, than Peyton's been in there with. And I'm going to look toward Cameron Simon to probably take this to the ground, use some wrestling, probably... Peyton's not that bad at scrambles, but either way, bro, you don't want to be on the ground scrambling with Cameron Simon because he will cinch up some chokes on you. So he'll lay you out flat and do some head and arm on you. You know what I'm talking about? So with that being said, I'm looking toward Cameron Simon to be able to get the win. His team is smart enough to know they probably want to keep this on the ground and let Cameron submit him. Either way, if it's a stand-in fight, it should be action-packed as well. But I got Cameron Simon for the win. But that's no slight on Peyton because I'm a big fan of his, even though he's just fresh off the Contender Series. Shout out to him. Shout out to Cameron Simon. But I got Simon to get the win. Outside of that, man, we have some other names on the card. I don't know if these are going to be big fights. I mean, we got Billy Q coming back. That's cool. I'm always down to see Billy Q. We got Trey Ogden stepping back in there, fresh off of dismantling Mota. Then we got Julian Erosa stepping in there against Ricardo Ramos. That's probably going to be a good fight. Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson. That's probably going to be a good fight, especially since Miles John looked really good in his last fight. So that should be pretty good. But, you know, it is what it is, y'all. It's another Vegas Apex card. Vegas 89. You know, man, I don't know what to say, you know. Poor Rose Namajunas, you know, she's on this losing streak, and the matchmakers and Dana's like, she's like, you know, when can I get another arena fight? They're like, whoa, arena fight? Girl, you going to the Apex, all right? So it's just like, it is what it is, but we're going to see how it plays out, man. So that's UFC Vegas 88 that we covered. The dumpster fire of a card that was. And we're going into probably another dumpster fire of a card. UFC Vegas 89. So I appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you thought about last week's show. Did you like anything off of it? Did you like Brian Battle taking his career in his own hands and trying to save a no contest decision and calling some people out? You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, not calling some people out, but calling out Ange on what he had going on. Nevertheless, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think about the card coming up this weekend. And again, I do want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.